Our friend Mac Angle, who I saw on Friday in Fort Worth for the TCU first round game against Fairleigh Dickinson of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, and our one and only Andrew Seeley.
I don't need another introduction. Let's move on.
It's a three-person show tonight. Mac, welcome as always. Were you out there today as well for the second round game for TCU? Or I know you and I were both there for the first round, but
Yes, I was. TCU, as you guys noted earlier, is in its first ever Sweet 16 in either men's or women's basketball. They defeated Louisiana, LSU.
Louisville.
I'll get one of the L schools right. Louisville, 85-70 in Haley Van Lith's big revenge game against the team that she feels connected to, but left after 3 years. So go figure.
So I'm curious your perspective, because you and I were both there on Friday for the first round game against Fairleigh Dickinson. You're playing a 15 seed. It's a 2:30 in the afternoon start. I felt like the crowd was still quite good given those realities. What was it like today, though? Bigger game, more realistic threat from a 7-seed opponent. What was the atmosphere in there like today? Because I know both Campbell and Van Lith were singing the praises of the fans.
It was historic. They had almost 7,500 people in there for a women's game, or for any game for that matter. It was historic. That was the biggest crowd they'd ever had for a women's basketball game at that arena. And it was great to see. You know, obviously spring break is over, so you had a full student section, something that they had not been able to do on Friday in the first round. And for that program, and, you know, Mike, there's a tie for me here personally, because that team and that program is the reason why I moved to Texas. I had been given a job there in 1996 as the graduate assistant who was in charge of all media relations for TCU women's basketball from 96 to 98. So for me to sit there in that seat next to you and then today, and to see where that program is today compared to when it was when I was there 100 years ago, is astounding. Almost on the same level as TCU being in the national championship game in football, where it narrowly lost to Georgia.
Man, that's dirty pool, Mac.
Close. It was close. It was 10-7 after the end of the first quarter, and then I don't really remember much after.
Son of a gun, they were right there.
Somehow we all don't remember what happened.
Right there. It's just a couple plays.
Mac,
I didn't expect to be laughing about that tonight.
Yeah, seriously. I don't know how you guys felt about it coming into this game, but this was the one I had circled as the problem child of the first two for sure, just from the emotional attitude that Van Lith would have had heading into it with the connection to Louisville. But also sometimes getting those first couple games out of the way as a top seed is the most difficult part of a tournament, just establishing that they belong here. And I know this team has experience in all of this, but they didn't have experience with it with the TCU on their chest. So, Mike, I'm curious from your perspective, now that they have 2 games under their belt, do you feel like they've done enough to say we deserve to be the number 2 seed right now?
I think they've certainly shown that they've played to their paper in that regard, that they're just this good. And I think, Mac, you mentioned it earlier, the kind of the challenge of Louisville and what Haley Van Lith was dealing with, leaving there a couple of years ago, her stopover in LSU, now here at TCU. I think what we saw today with Jada Curry is a little bit of why Haley Van Lith has wound up on this mercurial path to end up here in Fort Worth. Jada Curry was a one-woman show today and had to be, and was magnificent. She had 41. She was awesome for Louisville, but she didn't have a whole lot of backup. And then you look across the court at TCU, and it can be any one of a number of factors on any given night. They've got 5 or 6 players that can, at any given night, put up 20. Obviously, Van Lith among that group, but Sedona Prince, they are incredibly deep, and we saw that today with the fact that Louisville was focusing on Van Lith, and she was able to just play facilitator and dish out 10 assists and still make the offense go for TCU, but it didn't have to all funnel through her.
Well, I think the big thing that I noticed in this weekend's games is that the NCAA women's basketball tournament continues to follow the same script pretty much year in and year out, which is if you're a top 4 seed, it goes to the chalk.
Yeah.
Every now and then you'll get some teams that push you. But if you look at these opening round game scores, pretty much the NCAA women's basketball tournament, and unfortunately, and you guys talked about on the top, the men's tournament really followed it this year. There's not a lot of upsets. There's just not. And there's a lot of reasons that go into that. So when it came to these 2 games for TCU, I really wasn't worried about it too much. Now, when they get into Notre Dame on Saturday, and then certainly if everybody holds to form, then Texas, that's a different animal. But TCU deserved to be here as a 2 seed. You know, they won the Big 12 regular season, they won the Big 12 conference tournament championship rather. And if you're in a Power 4 league and you do that, then you're a 1 or 2 seed legit. So when it came to TCU, I really wasn't, as just a casual observer, thinking they were going to lose either one of these 2 games. I didn't think Louisville was good enough. To me, it's can they do something against the powered teams in the top 8? And they did it earlier this season. They beat Notre Dame earlier this season. But when they played South Carolina, they got run out of the building. They're not there yet. Obviously, there's a lot of things that have to happen for them to get to the Final Four, but they got a shot. They're gonna have to, but they're gonna have to pull off some big upsets to do it. And I think beating Notre Dame twice in the same season would qualify as an upset. But whatever happens now, it's free money. They've done something that this program has never done before, and they've done it on the strength of transfer portal players who have elevated this program that really in the last 2 years was pretty much dead to now a shot to get to the Final Four.
100%. And I couldn't ask for a better segue, personally.
It's remarkable because they are like the players that they've brought in from on. They showed the graphic today on the broadcast.
Yeah.
In fact, from all different corners of the country, and they've all had this kind of success: Elite 8 runs, Final Four runs, national championship runs across the board. They've all done it, but to your point earlier, with different colored jerseys on.
Yeah.
The fact that Mark Campbell has been able to coalesce this group and make them an actual team, because it kind of feels like, all right, this is an all-star team. But when you have that vibe, a lot of times it's hard to find that gel. They have found it. This is a legitimate team that actually has each other's back and that has that cohesion that allows you to win the games that are, like you're talking about, Mac, against Notre Dame and against Texas coming up this coming weekend. That's where it's going to be a real challenge, but they have what they need to be able to do it.